second for it to propagate. That's the thing about it. Technology. It always lags, man.
It's not our friend today, but we'll make it our friend.
Yes. We are live. So welcome back to Boss Uncaged podcast. Tommy and I are hanging out. So like we had a little sidebar conversation, and the reality is kind of like this individual I'm about to interview is such a phenomenal individual, and he's going to bring like your heart rate up. If your heart rate is dead right now, if you're sitting still, if you didn't go for a jog or walk the dogs this morning, by the end of this conversation, your heart rate will be up. You're going to be excited. You're going to be motivated, and you're going to get your ass up and you're going to get something done. So, I like to name whoever I'm interviewing with a particular nickname. So today, for the first time ever, this man has this ultimate name, the legendary boss. Like, I'm surprised I've never had that before, but it's all yours. So from now on, you're the legendary boss. The floor is yours. Tell the audience a little bit more about you. And what would you like to talk about today?
Hell yeah, brother. I appreciate that. Let's get their heartbeat up, man. If you're down in the dumps, man, the difference between a good day and a bad day is a choice. So let's make a choice to make it a good day. Let's choose to move our body. Let's make choice to lean in. Tommy Breedlove. I just realized SA and I are basically neighbors. He lives right down the road in North Atlanta, and I am north of Atlanta as well in the North Georgia mountains, man. So that's cool. I am Tommy Breedlove. I am the Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author of the book Legendary and the founder of the Legendary Life Movement. I also own a hotel up here in the North Georgia mountains called the Mountaintop Lodge. It's a boutique hotel. My wife and I own it together. It's right up. I'm pointing as if people can actually see me, but I'm pointing. The mountain is right next to me, and the lodge is on top of it, man. So here to third. I love that legendary boss. I've never been said that before. We only have 11 team members. We're 11 strong. I'll have to ask them today. Do you think I'm a legendary boss? But we'll see what they say, man. So I'm all in, brother. Let's ride.
Cool. So I mean, there's so many different things to unpack with it. I think the first thing I want to unpack, and you're talking about like being motivated and getting. It was one of the videos that you had posted online, and you were talking about the Tommy go round. I want you to kind of like break down the Tommy go around, because I think everyone has like I have an essay go around, John has a John go around, Susan has a Susan go around. I want you to kind of break that philosophy down, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, so I have two things. I think the secret, there's two real secrets, actually three real secrets to life, and one of them is related to the Tommy go around. One is hard work is the great equalizer. It allows the average Joe like myself to come from nothing and do something with yourself. Number two is mastering your mindset. Number three is who you associate with. And so number two is mastering my mindset. And when I get in the Tommy go round, it's a dangerous place, man. That's the monkey mind. That's always planning, or remembering. And I also have this negative voice related to the Tommy go round that my wife and I have named Ike. And Ike wants to burn down Rome, man. Ike's that asshole who wakes up every day and has got the FU backpack and he's miserable. So for me, I want to be proactive and not reactive. I want to be in control of my mind and emotions and not them in control of me. Unfortunately for all of us, we don't realize this, but 95% of our thoughts, actions, and habits are dictated from our subconscious mind. It's not our conscious mind. It's like, why do I not want to drink that eighth beer? And I drink that eighth beer. Why do I not want to eat that ice cream, but I eat the ice cream anyway? Why do I not want to do this? That's because your subconscious is driving the ship. So for me, and I literally just finished it. I got a late start this morning because it was a late night. But for me, every single day, so that I can be proactive, not reactive, in my monkey mind and that negative voice. And we've all got a little bit of that negative voice. And it comes from shame. It comes from parents. It comes from teachers. It comes from society. And it definitely comes from 24-hour news. Mm-hmm. So for me, every single day, I work on my heart, mind, and emotions. Every single day. Heart, and I work on my soul a little bit too. So I'm a soul guy. I'm a spiritual guy. I'm not a religious guy, but I'm a spiritual guy. So here's how I do it. Every day I get up, and the first thing that I do is I put some earphones on. And I'm very, very disciplined around my phone. So I'm not scrolling Instagram. I'm not looking on YouTube. But I put my earphones in, and it's an 18-minute visualization. And what I'm doing is I'm rewiring my brain and heart. I'm rewiring that subconscious mind. It talks about me, my marriage, my health, my spirituality, and my business. It's 18 minutes of motivation, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and here's my goals, and here's the path I'm going to do that. So that's the first thing I do when I get up. So I'm doing dishes, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm lighting a candle, I'm putting on coffee. I wake up much earlier than my wife. Then I head down and I hit the gym. And this is all working on my mind and heart. So you got to work on your body a little bit too. So I hit the gym for 30 to 45 minutes. Then here's where the mindset work comes in. Then I get in the sauna and I meditate for 20 minutes. And that's where I get my brain quiet. That's where I watch my thoughts. That's where sometimes my best thoughts come out of that. Sometimes my best innovations comes out. But the most point is I'm calming my mind, and meditation's helping me get proactive than overreactive. Then I walk upstairs and my wife is usually up. Then I'm journaling gratitudes. I'm journaling affirmations. I'm journaling intentions, and I'm reading to her. So we're journaling together. I'm journaling my affirmations. I'm journaling my intentions. And I'm also reading great texts like the Daily Stoic, 365 Tao, Christian Mystics, you name it. So what I'm doing in the morning is I'm working on my heart muscle, my mind muscle, and my soul muscle, and my body. And so to me, you've got to lead, love, and respect yourself first before you can lead, love, and respect others better. And for me, I want my heart to be strong. I want my mind to be strong. I want my soul to be strong, because I help entrepreneurs and business owners and executives make really big decisions on their business success and lives. And so every one of those decisions takes a little bit of my energy away. And so for me, man, it's about mastering that mindset, mastering that heart set, because brother, if the Tommy go round or Ike is in charge, that's when bad shit goes down, man, for me. So that's how I do it, man.
Cool. So, I mean, that's a hell of a segue, because I mean, I think the Tommy go wrong and everyone's go wrong is essentially part of fear. And you did another video talking about fear, and you were saying like facing fear to the point to where you're pissing all over it, right? So I want you to kind of talk about that. And again, to be completely frank, like pissing on fear is something that's probably difficult for most people to even comprehend that terminology. So I want you to kind of break that apart as well.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So I just spent 3.5 days in Vermont working on me. I was hanging out with other entrepreneurs and executives in Vermont. I was doing the work. So I wasn't running this workshop. I was doing it. And part of that, we climbed 2 mountains in Vermont during that. And I have a horrid fear of heights. But I don't want my fear to be in charge of me. I don't want, that's the same thing with your heart and mind. And so when we got to the top, and it was a hard hike, a really hard mountain to climb, actually. It was a bald mountain in Vermont, if anybody ever wants to look that up. But at the very top is a 290-foot, very, very old fire. What do you call that? Tower, for lack of a better word. And yet it's old, it's rinky-dink, it's something you'd see out of a movie like Fall. It's a little shorter than Fall. Have you seen that movie Fall, where they're on the big tower and the two women? It felt like that, but a lot lower. But I knew I was scared. I knew I didn't want to be the only one to not climb it. So I literally, when I got to the top, I was the first one to go. And I was just breathing through my nose and just mastering them out, breathing and knowing I'm okay, taking one step at a time for that 290 feet and get to the top. And it was windy and rainy. So my fears were going crazy, but how good did I feel when I got down? And most of our fears and worries are not real, but what it does is it drives a ship. We won't ask someone for forgiveness. We won't ask that girl out that we're so interested in. We won't change that bad job. We won't get rid of that negative human being out of life because we're scared and we're worried about what other people think. And the truth is nobody's thinking about us anyway, because they've got their own self-interest. And for me, I don't want to die with any regrets. And I've done a lot of dumb things in my life. I've hurt a lot of people in my first 36 years. That's what's written in Legendary. And I want it for the last 13 years. I want to be on the right side of karma. I want to be on the right side of fear. I don't want to let fear, worry, what other people think control me. So for me, it's just about pushing through it and taking that next step, and pivoting when I need to, but knowing everything's going to be all right. Because again, for me, I just don't want to have that regrets. I just want to be me and come from courage, come from confidence, come from abundance, and come from love. And so you just one step at a time. And you can just literally piss all over fear by just doing the next step. That's all you got to do, is take the next step, make the choice to do something different than you did yesterday. And my choice was to take each step up that tower, scared as hell, tearing everybody out scared as hell, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so there's your prime example of something I just did last weekend.
Wow. So, I mean, I think with that, you said the 36 years before. So we're going to kind of like pull back a little bit. And recently, or I think in this year or sometime, you had an interview with one of our alumni. So Mandy Morris was on our show, probably like, I don't know, episode 100.
Mandy's a dear friend. She's getting ready to go through my women's retreat here in October.
Very cool. Very cool. And a particular thing that you guys talked about, which is what you just said is a great segue for, it was talking about being in prison, right? So in prison of self, in prison, being incarcerated, and in prison of being in corporate America. So I want you to kind of tell your story, because you've experienced all three of those types of prisons. So I want you to kind of illustrate what that looks like to where you are right now.
Yeah, for me, I grew up good blue collar part of the world, South Atlanta. If anybody's been to the Atlanta airport, that's where I grew up, right next to it. So right in that area, Clayton County, same county that the airport's in. Most people have been stuck in that airport at least once. I mean, just about everybody I know around the world has been stuck in that airport at least once. And so for me, it was a good, but unfortunately, I grew up in and around a lot of violence on the street and in my home. Unfortunately, there was a lot of abuse, a lot of violence for my sister and I of all types. I mean, the worst of the worst. And I wanted to be the first guy in my family to go to college. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college. It wasn't what that neighborhood did. You either went to the military or you went to become a mechanic. And there's nothing wrong with all those things because, we had a good childhood growing up. But unfortunately, at 18, when I had all these full rides to multiple universities, I became what I hated. I became that violence. I became that abuse, committed a violent crime, and was looking at 7 years in prison as opposed to going to, Miami or Georgia or wherever I was going for these scholarships. Fortunately, by the grace of God and because it was my first quote adult offense at 18 years old, it was dropped from 2 felonies. I was looking at 7 years to 2 years, and it was misdemeanor. So I was sentenced to 2 years, and I spent my 19th birthday incarcerated. Really cool thing happened to me there because I really didn't have any great male mentorship or men in my life that really were setting an example. Outside my granddad for me to look upon. And what was really cool is this guy named Tony, African-American guy, decided to cross racial lines, which really doesn't happen very often, and mentor this 18-year-old kid who was lost. And he called me Youngblood. I like legendary boss and Youngblood. But he called me Youngblood. He said, Youngblood, you're not going to become a part of this revolving door system, because he was in his 40s and he had been in and out of the system. And he didn't want that to happen to me. So with his mentorship, with his accountability, and with his grace, we formed this bond. And when I got out, went to work for a nuclear waste container factory, went to community college at night. I was making $6. That was brutal work. It cost me a back surgery and a hernia surgery, man. And on Fulton Industrial Boulevard, for those of you in the Georgia area, that's not a nice place either. I was working in a factory there, Bankhead, and in the day and going to community college at night. I did end up at the University of Georgia, go Dogs. And in 3 years, I went from Uncaged to a company called Deloitte, which is one of the largest public accounting, mergers and acquisitions, and financial consulting firms in the world. So I'm really proud of that 3 years. So let's fast forward. You were talking about the second prison. There I am. I knew if I just outworked everybody, out hustled everybody, here I am, this blue collar street kid. Now I'm around thoroughbreds who went to all these big universities and came from good families. And so I just gonna outwork them and out hustle them. So I eventually moved out. It was recruited out of Deloitte to other firms. But at 36 years old, there I was at the top of the game, had the fancy watch, suit, shiny cufflinks, pretty girl on the arm, corner office. And I was like, if you looked on the outside, you said, hey, man, that guy's somebody. But on the inside, I was still that rageful, scared, angry little boy looking to be seen, heard, loved, and valued. And SA, when the money, the corner office, the power, the status didn't light me up, that's when I turned to the Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle, man. And at 36 years old, I almost lost it all. I almost lost my marriage, almost lost my firm, almost lost my career. And honestly, man, if I'd have kept going, I would have probably lost my life. Ended up in downtown Atlanta in a ditch, half dressed, not knowing how I got there. And at that moment, that was strike number 2. At that moment, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get a third chance, man. I really don't know. And so at that moment, I was actually going, who knew? I was going through marriage counseling with my wife, of course. But I remember that therapist telling me, hey, Tommy, there's a place for you in Tennessee that can do more for you in 7 days than I can do in 10 years. Because he knew I was closed. He knew I couldn't feel. He knew I was rageful. He couldn't figure out, what was in my past. And so I went to this place in Tennessee, and that's when I started the work, man. That's when I started the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical work. That's when I started working on my muscles, my internal muscles, so that I could be strong and just be Tommy, not be this guy, the arrogant guy, which is just insecurity on steroids, the fun guy, the life of the party, just be me. And man, let me tell you what happened in 3 years, because I never planned on leaving that career. In 3 years, man, just by working on my heart, mind, and soul, my money doubled. I went from junior partner, senior partner, international practice leader. I was elected to the board of directors at 39 years old. Most of the people were in their 60s. But more importantly, I went from one of the most feared people in the firm to one of the most beloved. I found this peace, calmness, courage, and confidence that I never had before. My marriage went from life support to strength. And so that, in just those 3 years of working on me and just being me, and that's when, man, all these entrepreneurs, executives, lawyers, bankers started reaching out to me and say, how did you do it? How did you, when I started telling my story, also giving them permission to tell their stories, because we all got a story, right?
Yeah.
That's when the book Legendary was written. And I'm just thankful it became a Wall Street Journal and USA Today's bestseller. That's when the Legendary movement was founded for entrepreneurs and executives who not only want to be elite in life, but elite in business and elite in their relationships and in their lives as well, not just in their business. That's when all of it just began. And so I sold my equity, I resigned my board seat, went chase this entrepreneurial dream, man. And here we are almost 10 years later. And I'm loving every day of my life now, as opposed to just being tied down to that suit. And anyway, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah. I think that's a phenomenal story, right? And again, this is not the first time you've told it, right? I mean, obviously, you've told it probably a million times, but I want to kind of dive.
Doesn't get easier.
Yeah. It still hits at the heartstrings, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to kind of dial in a little bit. It was another video on TikTok, and you were talking about removing the mask before dying on the white horse, and that's pretty much what you just explained. But I want you to kind of like articulate that a little bit more based upon what you were talking about and what's the representation of the white horse.
Yeah, what I realize is a lot of us, especially men, we can't show weakness. We don't want to ask for help. We think if we just work a little harder, because we crave power, status, and respect. Not all men, so don't send me any hate email, but most of us men, especially entrepreneur and driven men, I don't give a damn if you send me hate email anyway, but most of us high achieving, ambitious guys, we crave that power, respect, and status. And so we don't want to show weakness. We don't want to ask for help. We think if we just, when I get here and when I have more of this, and we sit up on that white horse and we're dying. And what I also realized is I wanted to fit in and I wanted to be accepted, because it was beaten and tortured into me for the first 18 years that I was a piece of shit, that I was not worthy, that I was not lovable, and I was not valuable. So I wanted to be this arrogant guy, tough guy, important guy, life of the party guy, the guy that buys all the drinks, by the guy that gets all the, just hoping that people will see me, hear me, and love me. And I realized I was dying on a white horse. But also what I realized during that time related to that, there's no white horse coming to save me. There's no magic pill. No one owes me shit, and there's no quick fix. And so I wanted to look in the mirror and know that with that image I see, which I saw as an enemy for the first 36 years, I wanted to make that guy an ally. And I knew I was both the problem and the solution. And I was told this by a whitewater guy. I wanted to participate in my own rescue. And it was up to me to choose to work on me. It was up for me to choose to be better than I was yesterday, to learn new skills, to strengthen my courage and confidence, to strengthen my mindset and soul set. And so for me, a lot of us men, and that's the whole point of the Legendary Life movement, is bringing people together. Because if we had all the answers, we'd already done it. And we don't have all the answers in our business. We don't have all the answers in our relationships, especially our relationships. And the people listening to this, 7 out of 10 of your marriages are sucking right now, man. And so that's just data. And so we don't have all the answers in our business. We don't have all the answers in our money, success, lives, relationships, with our family, with our kids. What happens if you bring a group of ambitious, driven people together who are like-minded, who want to do business and life together, and we share wisdom and we learn from each other and we grow from each other so that we don't have to battle this life alone? And so for me, I was battling it alone because I didn't want to show weakness, man, and it almost cost me everything. And so the white horse is an analogy for the guy's got to get off and ask for help, because if we had all the answers, again, we'd already done it. And we stand for 3 things in what I do. Is one is prioritizing yourself. It's the most selfless thing you can do, not selfish. Mind, heart, body, soul. Number 2 is find a pack of wolves to run with, to do business in life with, who make you better, who are net givers and share wisdom. And number 3, if you're not growing, you're dying. So always grow. And so for me, the white horse, again, is we got to get off of it and seek wisdom and advice and help. Number 2 is no one's coming on a white horse to save us. That's only in the movies, man. And so that's the analogy that I use to get my ass off up and keep moving on. And I also don't want to get in a pity party either, man. I am allergic to laziness, aptitude, victimhood, and entitlement. I'm allergic to it. And so you got to go out. The only difference between the elite and non-elite is showing up, making a choice, and keep moving forward. And that's the world and the people that I want to play with.
Wow. I think that's definitely a hell of an insightful statement to make, right? But even with that, there's cycles, and there's positive and there's negatives, right? So some days you're high, some days you're low, and it kind of, I think you made a statement one time about the 7-year itch, and your wife kind of talks about you going atomic. So I want you to kind of talk about, like, have you kind of dissolved these 7-year itches, or are you in the middle of a cycle going into your next 7-year itch?
I think I'm in the middle of a cycle, man. I realized my wife and I we're really aware. I'm going into my 50th year, and it has not been graceful, my friend. It has not been graceful. I'm going in kicking and screaming. And you don't feel your age, you feel your habits. And so I feel like I'm 20 years old still, but I also feel like there might be a little fear underneath. There might be kind of looking at greener grass in places. And so I feel like I'm in a little bit of a cycle right now. And so what my wife and I have done is we've doubled down. We are seeing right now, because we have two very, very actively growing businesses. We've got the hotel, and we've got the Legendary Life movement. And she's also a president and CFO of the largest companies here in Atlanta. And so we're both very, very ambitious. We don't have kids, but we are very career, business, success minded. And I feel like we've lost ourselves in that. We're great business partners. We're best friends, but I feel like we've lost the intimacy, romance, and the relationship side of us. And so both of us have looked in the mirror and say, hey, well, let's go seek some help. And we have. And so we're actively in that process. So I feel like all of us, we all have highs and lows. I mean, this is not what it sounds like to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I just want to be consistently moving forward in my business, success, life, and relationships, and especially my friendships too. So I think I've let my relationship with her and my friendships, I've put them kind of on the back burner. And I was talking to one of my dear friends and inner circle members last night, and I'm bringing them all back. So now I'm shifting my priorities to her and the marriage, and I'm shifting my priorities to the friends as well. Because we talked about it earlier, man. You know, I don't want to have a lot of money in an empty house and a loveless. I want to be successful. I want to make an impact, but also be filled with love, be filled with intimacy, be filled with romance, and also have these world-class friends that I'm also prioritizing. So for me, I've shifted. And so I do feel like I'm in a little bit, I think I'm in my 50th year. I'm having a 7-year itch and a whole lot of ways there. But I also think, you know, to me, the number one failure in leadership in life is self-awareness. And actually really knowing yourself, your goods, your bads, I mean, being in love with yourself too, your badness, your goodness, your greatness, the triumphs, the tragedies, and everything in between. And so for me, I'm very aware that we're slipping a little bit on this side of my life, and I'm bringing it back to the front so that I can, God willing, we can get it back to where it was just a few years ago. So I'm in an itch, man.
Well,
I think being real.
yeah. I think you made a comment about not having kids. So I'm not going to contact Annie and let her know that you're not considering your dogs to be kids, because
they're laying right there.
Yeah. So I know how much like they are your kids. So, but I want to kind of talk about like Heather for a minute. I mean, you brought up Heather from the start of this podcast. You brought her up at least a couple dozen times by referring to her as your wife. And then also you did a dedication in the front of your book. So I want to kind of talk about like the strength that you have such a solid partner to help you on this journey. How has that been fruitful for you?
Yeah, so it's incredible. And it's going to sound a little cliche, but I actually mean this. I've switched this up. I used to say you're your number one asset, and I still believe that. We are our number one asset. We've got to protect and defend the fort. That's us, heart, mind, soul, and body. So we're our number one asset. I used to say our number two asset is time. I'm shifting that. Your number two asset is your significant other. And it can either be a huge asset in your life or a huge liability, or you could be an asset or your liability. And sometimes we can run in and out of that. What I love about Heather is A, she's hot, but B, she, you guys can look her up. You don't have to trust me on that. But B, I love having one of my best friends say, you know, this girl brings you class. And she does. She grew up in a loving, abundant household in South Georgia. So she was told that she could do anything. And what I love about her is she has never said no, assuming it's not illegal or breaching our core values. She's never said no. It's how can we? When I decided to walk away from a massive career, I mean, massive, and a massive amount of money, she's like, how can we do it? Let's go do it. Let's go chase it. So what I love about her is she does her own self-work. She brings me class. She's good looking, but she's also very, like, we're very core value driven. She's also very career business focused. And she's a hell of a leader. And we met in accounting school. So, I mean, isn't that crazy? And so I believe she's my biggest asset. She's been my biggest fan. She's always said, how can we? She's loving, abundant. And here's what's cool. When I went through my transition at 36, she did the same work I did, because she wanted to figure out, why we were doing the things we were doing. Why were we in a relationship like we were, and how do we get better? So she does the work too. And so it's really important, if you're in the self-development leadership world and you're constantly working on you, that hopefully, God willing, your partner's doing the same thing, because it is a mountain that you climb. and you get stronger and stronger, and the air gets better and the view gets better, but the energy flow in you changes. And if your spouse is still standing on the ground, her language is going to be different, or his language is going to be different. So you want to be doing this work together. So what I love about her is A, she's core value driven. B, she's a great leader. C, she's ambitious, but man, she loved me when I couldn't love me, which is a really beautiful thing. And we've been together now since 1995 and married since 2001. So you guys do that math. So I'm showing a little bit of my age there.
Yeah, I think it's philosophical. And to your point, I mean, she's definitely a pillar, and any other person's counterpart has to be either equally yoked or stretching your vision to a certain extent, which is kind of like the stack of your book, the way it was stacked. You started off with that, and then like chapter 1 was take action, and you started off this chapter with a quote by Teddy Roosevelt, and that quote, the last sentence of the quote to me was like the most phenomenal aspect about it, but like being more so concerned about victory and defeat, but dealing with cold and timid people, right? Yep. But then you also stated that, do you want to be the person that's on the field, or do you want to be the armchair quarterback in the stands? So I want you to kind of talk about that chapter and what that means for where you are and where your business is going today.
Yeah, it's easy to be the critic, right? I mean, I don't know if, think about all the people who watch sports. And I grew up playing basketball. That was my jam. Do you want to be Kobe or the coach, or do you want to be the guy in the stands evaluating all of them, right? And to me, it's just a choice. And I don't let the critics, the naysayers, it's easy, especially now with social media, to be a critic, to be a political expert, to be a health expert, and to frankly be an asshole. That's easy. Yeah. But getting in the arena and making a choice to make an impact, making a choice to build a business, making a choice to build a career, or to ask that girl out, or to set a firm boundary, that's the people who are moving the ball. Mm-hmm. And they're not lucky, they're not victims, they're not entitled, regardless of where they come from, what's happened to them, where they grew up, how they grew up. They make a choice to get in the damn arena. They make a choice to build something great. They make a choice to make an impact. They make a choice to work on themselves. Do you notice I'm saying the word choice over and over again? Because it's just a damn choice. Just choose, man. Just make a decision. And that's why the first chapter is taking action. And I don't want to be the cold, timid souls who die with all the regrets in the world and a cold heart. I want a heart full of gratitude and no regrets when I go. And it doesn't matter if we fail. I fail all the time, man. I make mistakes all the time. And for me, building a business that impacts so many people's lives, you don't have to do that. You can build a career. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. Just go build a world-class career. That's your passion and your purpose, man. And so when you were talking about the book, people don't realize that, but the first 7 chapters is what people want. Mm-hmm. More money, a world-class network, more time, more purpose, all that good stuff, right? The second half is what they need. More intimate relationships with family and friends, mastering your mindset, unconditional love for yourself, the good life. And so for me, I want to be surrounded by people who are making the choices every day to be better than they were yesterday, or who are making the choices to make an impact, who are starting small but thinking big. And it's easy for you to be a troll, a jerk, a naysayer, see the darkness and negativity all around, or you can see the goodness, love, and learnings everywhere. So it's just a choice. And so for me, I want to be in the arena. I want to be driving the ship. I don't want someone else to be driving, making the choices on my time and how I spend it. And so me, that's the people that I want to be around, the people that are actually in the arena, and not the people that are on social media critiquing all of the people that are in the arena. So that's how I choose to live my life, man.
So, I mean, with that, I mean, it goes back to another post that you had. It was a picture of you as a kid. You had on like a blue striped shirt, and you made a statement to where the last statement that you just made lives up to you becoming that individual for your younger self. That picture right there. And you had said something along the lines of like, let's choose to be the people we needed when we were younger. So I want to ask you that question. Do you think you are that person now, or becoming that person that you needed when you were younger?
100%, man. And I do my damnedest to pay it forward. Now, I still have my flaws. I still have my insecurities. I still have my demons. I still fail. But now I believe I take 8 to 9 steps forward and 1 back. Whereas when I was 36, I was probably taking 4 forward and 6 back. And so for me, that little boy that I just showed, it, for those of you who are listening can't see it, but that little boy grew up with a whole lot of bad things happening to him, and he never felt safe. And, but I don't know if it was miracles. I don't know if it was divine energy. That's a little bit bigger and out of my pay grade. But the fact that a Tony appeared in my life in jail, the fact that a Carrie Gaho appeared in my life at 36, the fact that now I am in the community building, connection, and guiding business. I run retreats, masterminds, events, adventure experiences. But guess what I do today? I just did 3.5 days in Vermont of my own work. I have 2 coaches that I'm working with now. I belong to another mastermind, not just run my own. So I'm constantly doing the work to be the man that I was born to be the human I was born to be. Because I don't know, I think we're born with 3 gifts: the gift of life, the gift of choice, and the gift of death. I don't know when that gift of death's coming, but I know I can make a choice every single day. And so I want to live on the goodness, the abundance. I want to spread love. I want to be a net giver. I want to lead with love. I want to share wisdom and not advice. I want to be curious, not critical. So for me, I do believe that I am that man. And when I wake up, before I put on my earphones that we talked about earlier in that vision, literally the first thing I do is say, thank you. That's the first thing I do, because I get one more day to show up for me. I get one more day to live life. I get one more day to make some choices. Now I have some bad days. Now when Ike shows up, he wants to burn the damn house down, man. But luckily, so many people can call me out. And my wife's like, hey, did Tommy wake up or did Ike wake up? And my team, because we have an extreme ownership, we have 5 core values that we live by. They'll call me out on it too. So do I believe I'm the man that I needed when I was a young man? Yes. And I hope that I am paying it forward the best I can to live a life of significance and impact. And so, yeah, I do believe that.
Wow. So, I mean, I think in that answering of that question, you kind of listed off several different keywords. So I want you to kind of think of a representation, maybe 3 to 5 keywords that define who you are today.
Yep. I would say number 1 is authentic. I think we're craving authentic connection. I'm the first one to say, if I'm running a retreat or I'm doing a keynote or we're running a mastermind, I was like, well, gentlemen and women, I'm not currently doing this. So I'm holding myself accountable. So I'm authentic above all else. I believe I'm a very loving human being. And so my team and my wife are kind of my bodyguards, because I will give my last shirt and underwear away and die of exposure. So I'm a net giver. I'm a very loving individual. I'm a very kind individual. I'm also very, very, very driven. And so I've been running from rage and running to peace my whole life, but my drive now is to make impact. My drive is to help as many humans as I can. And we have big numbers. I think I'm approachable. I'm not a sage on a stage. I'm not a guru. I'm not someone who's got it all figured out. I'm very approachable. And I'm one of those people that see the good in everybody. That's why they won't let me hire anybody for we have, between the hotel and here, I think we're up to like 11 people now. I have to count, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But I'm eternally optimistic. I don't like compliance. I'm a sales guy at heart, so they don't let me hire anybody because I just want to hire everybody. So I think all of those things is just who I am. But I'm also a seeker. The more I read, the more I travel, and we were talking about travel off camera, the more I read and the more I travel and the more humans I meet from different cultures and different backgrounds, I realize how little I know. But what I do know is everybody around the world wants the same thing. They want to be seen, heard, loved, valued, and they want to be free. And how beautiful is that? If we just keep that in mind, because we're all the same, we're all going to end up the same. We're all going to end up worm food. That's who I think I am. I wish I had any of my team members here today. They were all here yesterday. None of them are here today. I'd ask them, so who am I? So that's who I believe I am.
Which I think, and again, you led us right into like another topic. I mean, about traveling. And off air, we were talking about you and I were in Barcelona at the same time in the Gothic quarter, all at the same time last year, which is crazy that we're both in Georgia, but we didn't meet till now. But also, I think around the same time you went to Greece. So I want to talk about like the international aspect of what you do, right? Do you think that traveling the world has helped influence you to become a better coach and a better speaker and a better influencer by having these opportunities?
I think it's made me a better person, which in turn, a better human, which in turn has made me a better facilitator, a better keynote speaker, a better coach and guide. And I didn't ask to be in this business. It was thrown upon me and asked. And so, which is really cool when other people come to you and you can build something world-class around that. But the more people I talk to from different cultures with different language, with their skin color looks different than I am, their religions are different than I am. The more I travel and the more I see, I realize that the United States does a whole lot really, really well, especially in the business realm and the law realm. Like it's hard to be, you come from nothing in other countries. It's really hard to really get ahead in some places. But that's what I love about this country. But we also do a lot wrong. And so you get to learn, you get to grow, you get to experience people, you get to eat different foods. You get to learn from these individuals, you get to hear their hearts, and all the stuff and what I've really learned is all that crap that both the left and the right media post is mostly bullshit. We're all really more balanced people. We all really want to do the right, like 99 out of 100 people really do want to do the right thing and really pretty much do the right thing. There are some people out there who want to burn the world, but that's not many. But it's created, what I realize is I don't know much. It's created humbleness. It's opened my eyes to things. And in one of our rules, our rules of engagement and what we live by in the legendary movement is be curious first and critical second, and be a learner and not a knower. And I feel like when human beings become certain on anything, like I'm certain it's this God, I'm certain it's this politics, I'm certain it's this way, that's when a whole lot of deep, dark, evil shit happens throughout human history. And so for me, being a learner and not a knower, being curious first and not critical, being a net giver and leading with love, that's all stuff travel and coming from humble beginnings and meeting all of these wonderful human beings around the world has taught me. And so that it really has made me a better human, which in turn makes me a better business person.
So, I mean, and taking that philosophy of like the travel, isn't that probably one of the reasons why you kind of came up with the executive leadership retreats? And I want you to kind of talk about, is it a push and pull? Is it a cause and effect? And again, for the listener, I want you to kind of define what is included and what happens on these retreats.
So we want to be a home. We have built an ethos system. So again, if you ask me, what I do, I'm a community builder. So we built a world-class community, both a community and mastermind. We're connectors. We're connecting high achieving, ambitious people who want to be, they don't have to be successful. A lot of them are, or they just want to be successful in business and in life. And so what we've done is we've created this ecosystem for business, for people to do business in life with. And we say, if you are called to the legendary life movement, if you want to be better in business, you want to be a better leader, you want to be more successful, but you also want to be elite in your life and your relationships and your friendships, welcome home. And so our highest level program is our mastermind, but you can't join the mastermind unless you've been to one of our events. So throughout the year, we do these adventure experiences. So our entrepreneurial and executive or aspiring entrepreneurs and executive, you don't have to, our community is our entry level program for up and comers or people in transition or people who just want a tribe to share wisdom and to do business and to get better with. And so we do these adventure experiences all over the country. Eventually it's going to be all over the world. We just did Isla Morada, which is in the Florida Keys. We did fishing and culinary experience. We've got a bunch of them next year. And it's a place where we can all get together, have a lot of fun, but everything we do has a component of leadership mastery, self-mastery, business mastery, success mastery, or relationship mastery. And so for 4 hours of that adventure experience, we're learning leadership techniques, and then we go fish, and then we go have fun, and then we go have a great dinner and grab a beer together. But the biggest, baddest, sexiest thing we do is the foundational retreat. And that's an all-inclusive vacation. They come to the hotel right up the hill there in the beautiful North Georgia mountains, and they throw down for 4.5 days. It's a clarity retreat for these entrepreneurs and executives or aspiring entrepreneur executives. They get clear on who they are, where they're going, and who's coming with them, both business and in life. They get a masterclass in leadership, self-leadership, business, life, and relationship mastery. It's just 4 days of pure growth. But most importantly is they're connecting and bonding with other people just like them. They're sharing authentic wisdom. There's a little bit of vulnerability to it. Now, we're not walking on fire. We're not doing all that stuff. This is about being elite. And so that's the biggest, baddest, hairiest thing we do. It's also the most powerful thing we do, because you're asking these high achieving people to take a vacation to themselves, from themselves, and for themselves. And if they have the courage to walk through that door, and it's me and a co-facilitator, and our entire team is there. My co-facilitator is a former naval special ops guy. So he's also my bouncer. But that's a little bit of a joke. But when these courageous men and women show up, I'm telling you, at the end of it, they're like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? Why didn't I do this? I wish I would have done this when I was 22. I wish I'd have done this, because it's just, you just leave there a better leader, a better human, a better father, a better mother, a better whatever, a better wife, husband. And it's just 4.5 days of badassery. So in our ethos, we run a mastermind, we run a community. So we're community builders. We want to be a home for people to do business in life with. We have adventure experiences throughout the year. We also have our foundational retreats, which again is the biggest, baddest thing we do. And finally, we hold one big event a year. We just did it at Lake Lanier in Georgia. We're going to do it in Tampa next year. It's called Your Life, Your Legend.
Wow.
That's where we bring in the Mandy Morrises of the world, who's an alumni of we bring in external speakers on relationships, on business, on success, on money. I also present. There's also a masterminding session at the end that I run. But it's our biggest event for the masses. We're doing it in Tampa next year. So we are an ethos and a community for people to do business in life with. And it's only we're not for everybody. I mean, we're really not. If you're not ambitious, don't call us. If you're not high achieving, don't call us. If you don't want to be successful in business and life, that we're not for you. There's probably great other books, but that's the tribe that we cater to.
Which goes back to your signature line about those who challenge themselves to be elite become legendary. I mean, obviously, like that's the bottom line statement. So I think that's a phenomenal thing. And obviously you're living up to that. I mean, obviously in your downtime, you're traveling and then you're taking what you learned on your travels and you're putting it into that. But at the same time, you're doing business and what you learned there, you put it. So again, you're living and breathing the example of what you're teaching and educating people on. So I wanted to kind of like dive into, like, you're talking about these tiered systems, right? You talk about the retreats, but you're saying like the top level is essentially the legendary life mastermind. So I want you to kind of like again, mastermind is such a wide term. Like we hear masterminds all the time. Is it a classroom? Is it a group of people walking on fire? Like what does your mastermind actually articulate?
So the mastermind is, again, you got to come to one of our events in order to join it, because we got to be discerning on who we let it in, and we've got some pretty significant players in there and people who are aspiring to be that. So what it is what I believe a mastermind is, and I learned this from Napoleon Hill. I didn't come up with a word. So I have studied and worked Think and Grow Rich like 6 times, and that's where that word came up. And for me, we have a men's mastermind and a women's mastermind. That's where we bring great minds together and think 20, 30, 40 minds. And we do a big group and we break out into small groups where all of these minds come together as one mind with one goal of being better than when we arrived. So our mastermind meets 2 hours a month virtually, because the people are all over the country. And virtually we meet for 2 hours a month, usually on a topic of business mastery, success mastery, investing mastery, money mastery, life mastery, relationship mastery. So there's content being shared. There's wisdom being shared by all of the members. We call them members, the Legendary Life Movement. And then we break them out in small groups for them to share wisdom. What is their biggest opportunity or challenge in their business or life right now? And what happens when all of these people get together, if we had all the answers, we'd have already done it. Yeah. And so we want people to come together 2 hours a month virtually, and then get together 3 or 4 times a year live at our live events, so that we grow, we get better, we share authentic wisdom, and we get to solve these opportunities and challenges in our business and lives. And so the mastermind, they get 2 hours of masterminding a month, and then 2 hours of small group. That's where I just hold space. That's usually very, like, think of it as office hours, and you can pop in for 15 minutes. You can come just grab coffee and sit there and listen to the wisdom. That's usually really business focused. Do they have an employee issue? Do they have a relationship issue? Are they trying to scale? Are they trying to be more efficient? So up to 4 hours a month to gain wisdom, to be a better leader, to be better in business, and to surround yourself with people who are sharing ideas and sharing best practices, both for their success and their life. That's what the mastermind is for us. And then we also get together, like most of our mastermind guys and gals come to the Your Life, Your Legend event. Most of them come to 1 or 2 experiences a year. And what's cool is every year we also do Friendsgiving at the hotel. So I think we've got up to almost sold out now. That's just a added benefit. There's no selling of it. They come, it's on us. But we get the band back together up at the hotel, and we're going to have great food, great wine. There will be a component of leadership, business, and life mastery. We're going to do some fun stuff. So once a year on me, we bring them all back up here together, and we'll have a big cocktail party in this office. And so we're really excited about that. So that's what our mastermind consists of.
So, I mean, you're actually staying really true to the mastermind principle by Napoleon Hill, right? I mean, obviously, anyone that has read that book kind of understands like there's particular steps to build up to be a mastermind in the principle of masterminding.
Yep.
So, I definitely appreciate that. So, I mean, this talk about like your day to day. I mean, obviously, like your high energy. You said like earlier on that sometimes you kind of peak at different times. What does your morning rituals or routines look like?
Yeah. So my morning, I just did that. And so my morning is my holy time, man. It's all about to me, from me, for me. And so for me, every single morning, and this is without fail, I get up between 5 and 6 a.m. I listen to my visualization. So 5 to 6 a.m. I get up. Today I did not get up between 5 and 6 a.m. Today I got up at 7:30 because I had a really late night. So number one priority for me, I want to say this for everyone, is sleep. Not sleeping will kill you faster than any other bad habit combined. So number one is sleep. So I prioritize my sleep. Number two, again, when I wake up, I say thank you. I put in my 18-minute visualization to me, from me, for me, with all of my current goals for the quarter: business, relationship, life, spirituality. And for me, it's 18 minutes of me talking to me, motivating me, and me telling me how I'm going to achieve these goals for this quarter. I do it quarterly. I re-record it quarterly. Go downstairs, wash the dishes, light a candle, put on coffee, hit the gym, hit the sauna, meditate, come back up, do my daily readings, do my daily journaling, gratitude journal, do my intentions, my affirmations, and I read to my wife. That's what I do every single morning. When I go to bed, this is what my routine. I do gratitudes. How did I win this day? So I'm celebrating how I won today and how am I going to win tomorrow? My wife and I do that together. Every Sunday, we do our State of the Union for our relationship. We do a love journal together, but we also plan our entire week. Twice a week, this is important for the user. Not many people are doing this anymore. Twice a week, you got to spend 30 minutes thinking. Twice a week, I spend 30 minutes jotting down every single thought in my head about my business, prioritizing it, and getting it out to the masses to take action on. I also do it for my life. So on Sunday, I do my life. On Wednesdays, I do my business. And so that's how I do my daily routine. What I've become really, really good at is guarding my time like there is no tomorrow. So if I'm not working the craft, keynoting, running a mastermind, doing this, coaching, facilitating, writing, if I'm not working the craft, then I'm losing. So I want to spend my day in the following three categories: evangelizing, something called business development sales. This is evangelizing a little bit right here. So I want to spend it, growing the movement, finding future members for us. Number two is I want to be working the craft. And number three is I want to be a pillar for my team to lean on. And so we've got, you should see our hiring process. It is very hard to get a job here. But we have surrounded ourselves with world-class talent who also do all this work too. We actually require it. It's not an option. And so for me, I want to be a resource for my team. I want to be working the craft, running a mastermind, running our community, speaking, writing, or I want to be evangelizing the movement. I don't do anything else. It looks like I check my email. It looks like I'm on social media. I am not. There's humans out there doing that. I want to be doing only those things. And so that I am really, really, really good at my time. And so to me, that's what separates, and I'm really, really good. And this is in the book as well, of staying in my zone of brilliance. I am not a good administrator. I am not a good operator. I have no desire to be in the finance business anymore. So we have a CFO, we have a chief of staff, we have a director of member experiences, we have a marketing and media and social media person, so that I can concentrate on doing me and they can do what they do better than me. So that's what my day-to-day looks like.
All right. So, I mean, with that, I want you to talk to the listener, and the listener is hearing you. And again, their heart rate should be up by now, because I know my heart rate is up, right? I want you to kind of give them some words of wisdom, words of insight. You've been doing it the entire time, but I want you to really isolate it. I want you to look at the next 60 to 120 seconds as a mastermind topic right now. What would you tell this individual to help them to continue to grow and prosper, even overcoming hurdles that are going to come?
I want to say this first. And I'm being very, very serious. Whatever you're dealing with in your business, success, life, or relationship, I want them to know that they're not alone, that we all are struggling somewhere. And most of us are isolating and feeling alone because we think we're the only one with this worry, this fear, or this challenge. And I want to tell every single human being listening to this, you are not alone. The second thing I want to tell them is they got to participate in their own rescue. There's no magic pill, there's no quick fix, and there's nobody coming to save them. And I especially no damn politician coming to save you. So I want you to go find the nearest mirror and look in it and know that's the problem and solution to every single damn thing in your life.
Wow.
And the only person that can help you is you. And so what choice are you going to make? Start small and think big. Is it read Legendary? Or listen, hell, if you're not a reader, I will read it to you on Audible. And so what small change do you got to make? What one thing do you need to add in your life or take away today that will make you significantly better? Is it a negative human that you need to take away? Is it a new habit? Is it maybe just walking down the driveway and moving your body? Is it starting a great book? Is it starting a gratitude journal? Is it looking for a new job? Is it firing that asshole friend that's bringing you down?
Facts.
What one thing small thing do you need to add? Think small, think big, but start small. Don't try to fix, Rome was built brick by brick. So number one, you're not alone. Number two, participating on rescue. Know that you are the problem and the solution. And four, what one thing are you going to add today? Read Legendary. It's chock full of actionable tools for you to do. Pick the one that's most important in your life. Do you need to get your financial house in order? It's a whole section on how to do that. Add something positive and remove something negative. Maybe removing all that social media scrolling, or maybe a little less Netflix, or maybe getting out and walking in nature, or calling a friend, or grabbing coffee or a beer with them. So what one thing do you need to add and one thing that you need to take away? And I promise you this, there is literally no difference between me, the successful and unsuccessful, except the following three things. It's literally the three things. Number one is prioritizing themselves. Number two is working hard. It's the great equalizer. Number three is mastering their mindset. And number four is surrounding themselves with people who make them better, who make them happy, and who are net givers. That's literally it. But just because it's simple doesn't, just because it's easy, simple doesn't make it easy. All of this shit is simple. It's just your habits. Tell me your habits and who you hang out with, and I will tell you your future. It's literally, you feel your habits. And so that's what I would tell the people right now. I hope that was quick enough.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, kind of ended with that statement about being a net giver. Obviously that's what you are collectively. So I want the listener to figure out, like, how do they get in contact with you? Let's say they want to start off and go to one of your retreats. What website or what social media profile would you like to send them to?
I would go to Tommy Breedlove on social. It'll tell you everything. So I share only positivity. If you go to our website, which is livelegendary.today, that's livelegendary.today, you can sign up for our Legendary Minute. It's the best thing. It's one of the best things we do. It's less than a minute of your time every day. And it's just wisdom on success, money, business, life, and relationships. It's all it is. It's every day. It comes in your inbox, and it's probably 30 seconds or less. Or if you're interested in coming to one of our adventure experiences, to Your Life, Your Legend, joining our community, joining our mastermind, or if you are world-class and badass, come to one of our retreats. Hello, that's the biggest, baddest, coolest thing we do. Go to livelegendary.today, but follow me at Tommy Breedlove. I know I've been beaten on social media, but we do put a lot of positivity out there. And I'm even going to say this, you can also email me directly. Unfortunately, 3 people check my email, so we will respond, and it will be from my mouth. Usually when there's somebody that's reaching out to join one of our events or look for a community or come to one of our adventure experiences, or even better, come to our retreats, I always respond, but I'm dictating it to someone else. But go to Tommy at livelegendary.today or go to www.livelegendary.today. And by the way, the book, if you really want to get a taste of Legendary, it's all your bookstores. Now, you name it. If you like a bookstore or the big hairy Amazon, it's there. But again, if you're not a reader, I will read it to you. So there's really no excuse. So go out and check it out. It is chock full of simple strategies to help you be elite, not only in your business and success, but in your life and relationships. So that's where you can find us.
Got it. So, I think, like, finishing that note on books, kind of going into some bonus questions, I want you to kind of give a recommendation to, I want you to go back to the time when you were in prison. From the time you was in prison until who you are right now, what books kind of helped you on that journey to become who you are?
All of them that's not the answer you wanted, but Think and Grow Rich is the most powerful book outside of Legendary. Legendary changed my life. So that's my book. So I have to plug it. And it's the book I needed at 36. It's the book that literally transformed my life. So Think and Grow Rich is a world-class. It's funny you say that. So down here, I'm going to read them off to you. So I've got books everywhere. You can't see it. Can you hear me okay, SA?
Yeah,
so
I got you.
I'm going to read them out to you. So Ron Chernow's Alexander Hamilton. Everybody knows Hamilton, the play that made $1 bazillion. It's based off of that book. The Manuel wrote it based off that book. It's a big book. It's hairy, but Alexander Hamilton's one of my heroes. Here's a thing of him right there. So Atomic Habits, 12 Rules for Life, Atlas Shrugged, Think and Grow Rich, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, The One Thing, The Big Leap, Dale Carnegie, How to Influence and Influence People, The War of Art, and Man's Search for Meaning. There you go. They're right behind me. So I wanted to read those. I literally have them there for a reason. It's because they mean that to me. They mean that much to me. And I probably, with the exception of 12 Rules for Life, and I'm getting ready to read that again, all of those books I've read at least 2, maybe 3 times. Think and Grow Rich, probably 7. And I also worked it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal thing to not only have the books on tap, but obviously you've read hundreds of books, but those are your primary books to go to. So
those are my go-tos.
Listener, obviously we're gonna put those books in our book club. So we want people to kind of actually grab your book and take heed. If they heard of any of those books, and they've never read them, now is the opportunity to do it. So after books, I wanted to kind of talk about like what tools or software do you use on a day-to-day that you would not be able to do what you're doing if you didn't have access to?
HubSpot. It's our CRM system. It's our email system. It's big, hairy, audacious. We're still learning it. Again, we're between the 2 companies. I can't remember if we're 11, 12, or 10 right now, but we're about to get up to 12 because we need some more humans, good humans. So HubSpot drives our entire day-to-day, every day, all day. So that's our biggest, baddest system. We use Google for everything. I wish my people were here, but Mighty Networks is where our tribe lives. Think LinkedIn meets Facebook, but private. It's where all of our visualizations, meditations, writings, it's where our community lives. It's where they interact with each other. So Mighty Networks, HubSpot, Google. There's a huge technology that I'm missing right now. I can't think of it off the top of my brain, but we also right now they use Asana. I can't use Asana. My team preaches Asana, which is a task management. I would rather have my head cut off. I was going to use a different word than use that software, but they use it religiously. They love it. So I would say between Asana and HubSpot, those are our 2 biggest, baddest, most expensive systems. But we're also right now currently, so we practice what we preach. We've hired outside consultants to come into our businesses. So we're actively implementing something called EOS. It's Entrepreneurial Operating System, to systemize, process, to hold account, and to measure our companies and everything that we do and all of our humans, including myself. And that's been a game changer. So shout out to EOS. The book is called Traction. That's the principles of EOS, but we've hired an implementer. Shout out to Brad Whitehead as well, who's also coming to our November retreat. So he's coming to lean in and do the work too. But so currently we're leveling up all that we do on that side as well.
So I'll be definitely interested into this next question that I have for you, because again, you've had so many different life experiences. You had push and pull like everyone else, but again, like you're a dynamic individual. So if you had an opportunity to spend 24 hours with anyone, this person can be someone that you've met in your past, someone that has died already, someone that you've never met, or somebody that's alive today, who would you spend those 24 hours with and why? And you cannot pick Heather.
I can't pick Heather. I would say Abraham Lincoln or Alexander Hamilton, but I'll say Lincoln. I can't imagine a country so divided on such an easy thing, where millions and millions of people are killing themselves, killing each other, in the name of equality, in the name of union. The decisions he had to make, the pressures he had to feel, it ultimately cost his life. I don't know what we do as human beings. When a great human appears, we tend to kill him because we can't figure it out, which is a curse of humanity.
Yeah.
And he falls into that. MLK, JFK, Jesus. I mean, you name it. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Gandhi. Luckily, Nelson prevailed, but I would say Abraham Lincoln. I can't imagine the decisions. Apparently, he was very wise. Apparently, he was very funny. Apparently, he was very approachable. He overcame so much and held it together by a shoestring, and they almost lost, man, and over something, the equality of humans. And I can't even fathom that. And so spending 24 hours with him, I think would be awing.
So I think that's definitely a phenomenal answer. And this next one is going to be kind of more of a personal question for you, right? Yeah. And you're familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to kind of think about like when you were in prison, he's not necessarily your rich dad, but he was an influential dad. And I want you to kind of think about like your original environment, who may have been your dad or who would have been in that environment when you were younger and things were ugly. Have you ever had an opportunity to go back and talk to them and let them know who you've become, even though you went through all those different hurdles that most people don't deal with?
I have, with the exception of Tony. Tony and I parted ways about 2 or 3 years after my incarceration because I couldn't have certain influences that were around him in my life anymore. It was our decision, not my decision. It was our decision. I would think Tony is now, I'm approaching my 50th year. I'm guessing he would have to be in his 80s now or 70s. I hope one day to see him again. I hope one day to spend time with him again. I hope one day. So I have gone back and done myself not only the mentors in my life. I live with gratitude. And so I've gone back and thank most of them and hopefully honor them the best I can every single day with the choices I make. And sometimes there's two things you can't control in life, and that's love and death. So the heart's a very powerful thing. And so I've gone back and thanked them. I've gone back and shown them. Tony, honestly, we lost touch, but I'm hoping if he's still around that maybe the wisdom of the universe will bring us back together. That's certainly a hope of mine. But let me flip it a little bit too. I think I've also done an amazing job of going back and apologizing, and they don't have to forgive me, because I think forgiving ourselves, because my first 36 years weren't the most graceful and dignified and weren't really living up to my potential. And so I've also done if they were safe and alive, I've done a nice job of going back and, to my best of my memory, apologizing to some of the people in my past. I've also done an amazing job of forgiving myself. And as someone who just lost his mother this year, a few months ago, and we had a very difficult relationship because of her upbringing, and but we finished strong. We finished with love. She had a great death, and she forgave me, I forgave her, and we just really finished beautifully strong. So not only have I gone back and said thank you, I've also gone back and said I'm sorry.
I think that's definitely a positive thing. I mean, it kind of lifts the weight off your shoulder. And I think you had made a statement. I forgot on which post it was, like, worrying is a waste of time. I think you were sitting on the front lawn in front of a house or something along those lines. And it's kind of like you're living that. But most people, they state it, but they can't do it. Like, it's so difficult to not worry. And then you get in that state of worrying, and then you become depressed, and then you go down that rabbit hole. So with your mom, passing earlier this year, obviously that's a moment that you said you had an opportunity to go back and tell her that you were sorry. Did you also have an opportunity, or was she aware of all your achievements that you've made?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They told us 7 years ago that she only had 3 months to live, and we have a joke. It was her and I joke. It's like heaven doesn't want her, and hell's scarcely going to take over. So she was just too tough to die. But they told her she had 3 months to live. She lasted 7 years, and she never really, with the exception of a few weeks, didn't have really any bad times during that 7 years. I mean, her body was failing on her. But what I love about it is she was the most curious human being I've ever met. And because we grew up humble, she never got to travel the world. They lived always below their means, lower middle class, not poverty, but lower middle class, because I've seen real poverty. But she was so curious. She got to see the world through my eyes. She got to see the world through my pictures. She got to see me speak on stage through social media. She got to see me walk away from a gazillion-dollar a year career to chase a dream. And she didn't understand it for the first 5 years. And she goes, my God, look what you've done. She saw us virtually buy an operating hotel in the North Georgia mountains. She's seen Heather excel through her career. She's seen the awards we've won and the honors. But what she most importantly is she saw her son, God willing, become a decent human being. And I think she was proud of me. I think she lifted my, and she's the most curious person. But yeah, and this is cool, man. Over the past 7 years, we were a book club. We were 2 members strong, me and her. And we read every single classic novel known to man. And that's something we had in common. And we did book reports on them. So we finished strong, my friend. We finished really strong.
Yeah. I mean, it's never too late, man. I definitely appreciate you sharing that. So going into closing of Boss Uncaged podcast, I like to give whoever I'm interviewing an opportunity to run the show, to become the host. So now Boss Uncaged is yours. and I'm your guest. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I would love to know what's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and what's the best book you've ever read, and why?
Wow. I mean, I think you rattled off several of the books that I would like to recommend. The only one that I didn't hear that you rattled off, and somebody asked me this the other day, and I'll say the same book, is the 5 second rule. It's just as simple as that concept is, and it's kind of like the law of attraction. It's kind of like, is it real? Is it not real? In reality, if you can just take 5 damn seconds to face whatever is stopping you from taking the next step, breathe, relax, and then take that first step, you would overcome everything and you would become way more than you are right now. So I would definitely recommend the 5 second rule, pound for pound. If someone has not read it, they need to read it.
I love that. I call it practicing the pause. I love that. What, and you can pick an age, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 21-year-old, 36-year-old, it doesn't really matter. What would you go back and tell your younger self now?
Wow. I mean, there's different points of opportunity, but I think going back to the youngest possible variation of myself and explaining to him that his uniqueness and his quirkiness and everything that he is right now, that he may think that he needs to adapt to the world, but in reality, he can change the world to understand that there's more things that's bigger than the status quo. And that's who I am now, but I wish I could kind of instill that self in my younger self to kind of make who I am happen a lot faster.
My question, and I'll answer it first, so I'll lead from the front. Biggest challenge or opportunity in your business right now? Ours is we lost our salesperson this year, and we need someone driving our business development and sales, and we're out actively seeking that person. So for me, it's that, because I and one other person, Erica, are picking up the load from him. So that's our biggest challenge in our business right now, is finding the best person to go out and spread our word in our business. And my biggest challenge in life right now, which I've already shared, was reprioritizing my marriage and refocusing back on the love, romance, and intimacy part of our marriage. And my wife and I are actively working at doing that, which is really cool. What's your biggest opportunity and challenge in business and in life right now, my friend?
Yeah, so
I wanted to lead from the front.
yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I would say my biggest one is like, I kind of made this whole Boss Uncaged thing out of nothing, right? It happened 3 years ago when I was like, let's just go through this whole rebranding, change the structure of everything we've ever done, and create what we're envisioning to be like a digital empire down the road. So with that, the past 3 years, we've built up so many different tentacles to an umbrella that, we didn't essentially build the infrastructure as concrete as I should, considering that I didn't know how big it was going to get. So that was kind of like me not having the foresight to think more so in the future. I was thinking more so of this platform as a legacy to kind of do steps on how did I become successful, the steps on how other people became successful. But it's way bigger than that at this point. It's more of an opportunity to embrace stories like yours and stories of other people across the world, and having your kids and your grandkids then embrace this content down the road. So because of that, we have so many different facets to it. So right now, what we're doing is we're restructuring our entire digital platforms into one cohesive platform. I think that is our biggest thing right now that we're spending countless hours on going into a release of next year. On the personal side, I think it's just we have one kid in college and we have another kid that's a senior in high school. And it's kind of like figuring out like not to be the worry, right? I mean, you worry about your kids, but you don't want to worry about your kids. You want to make sure that you probably giving them enough insight and influence for them to become whoever they're going to be, and they're going to be okay. But I think I'm at that point now to where at the end of this year, we're going to have two kids that are essentially graduating from high school, and what their next steps are and what kind of people they're going to become and what are they going to do in society and what are they going to give back. I think that's like kind of where my brain is on the personal side.
That's awesome. I think what's going to be cool now is they're going to become not only your kids, but your friends. As they get older, they become more of your friends. And I've just seen that happen so much. Is there any mentor that you've had in your life that you want to shout out to, and why?
I would definitely say like Ty Cohen. So Ty Cohen, he was on our show as well too, and he's considered to be the Kindle cash flow king. But just the first time I heard him speak, it was just kind of like, where has this dude been? Right. Because he kind of lives the life that most people want to live, but more so, he's so down to earth. He's so approachable, like you were saying before. And he's had one of the longest running digital marketing successful things of ever. Like he's been in the game since like 2000 with the level of success in Kindle that he's had, and he's traveled the world doing it as well. It was just being around him, and the fact that we're friends. He comes to Atlanta, we're in the same place at the same time. We have each other's phone numbers. We'll text behind the scenes. But being able to have access to someone like that and other people like yourself coming on the show, I just think that it's if you're not doing a podcast, and if you're not thinking about creating a podcast, I would say you're doing yourself a disservice, because podcasting gives you an opportunity to have conversations on this level with someone.
I can't wait. So we are, you might know this, and nationwide might know this too. So Bert Weiss is one of my dear friends. The Bert Show. It's big in Atlanta. It's syndicated in like 25 different places. We are starting a podcast. It's supposed to be 2023. So let's do extreme ownership there. It did not happen. 100% on me. 2024, we are going to be starting. I don't know what it's going to look like or how it's going to be, but for exactly that, like I could interview all day long, and we could sit here and just throw down, and you just, shed wisdom and light into my life. And I think it's just about as much receiving as it is giving. And so I'm excited to start that ASAP. I think Bert and I are going to he's radio and podcasting, and he's big. I mean, he's got millions of followers and listeners, but nationwide. But I can't wait to do that for that very reason. Final question is, are you a Yoda guy or a Darth Vader guy, or both?
I mean, it's kind of like it goes into the question of the yin and the yang, or light and dark, and you have
Tommy and Ike.
Other. Yeah. So for me, I'm split down the middle. I mean, the story of Darth Vader is such a legendary story of how he was supposed to be the best of all times, and he turned out to be the best of worst of all times. And then Yoda is still like the telltale sign of the wise guy that knows all, and all the. So it's kind of like the devil and the angel always on my shoulder. And that's why I kind of have them behind me as the representation of, sometimes you lead to the dark side, sometimes you lead to the light side.
That's awesome. And you probably see over my right shoulder, do or do not, there is no try behind me. So it's a Yoda quote that I don't like the word try. When people say they try, that really they're lying to themselves and whoever they're talking to. That means they're probably not going to do it. So either do or do not. There is no try, brother. So I say that's been a great. I hope I did well with my interview questions to you, my dear friend.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you're going into podcasting, so I think you have the natural gift for it. And again, you talk on stages, so I mean, interviewing and talking to people, you're going to just be so fluent with it. And that's the beautiful part about people like us that do marketing, but we talk on stages, we do education. Podcasting is just a natural thing that kind of keeps us fresh and ready for a stage at the drop of a dime.
Couldn't agree more. And every now and then you get asked to talk for a long period of time, and you just start coming from the heart, and it never fails you, does it?
Never does. Well, I mean, with that, I definitely appreciate you being on the show today. I mean, like, you have obviously lived up to being the legendary boss, point blank, period. And I think anybody that's listening to this episode, this is one of the episodes that you kind of go back to his first chapter. You have to take action. You can't just sit here and feel good. Your heart rate is up, and then we cut off this episode, and then you go sit down eating fucking bonbons. You got to get up and do something. So I definitely appreciate you being here today, Tommy.
I create, and I'll end with this, man. I'm gonna say it differently than J. Cole does, but every intention. So think of an intention as a hope, a dream, and a goal. Every intention, a hope, dream, or a goal, has to have action. So action without intention is, you went a long way, brother, but you went the wrong way. That's J. Cole. Intention by itself is just delusion. So you need to take intentional action on everything you do. Get your goal, your hope, your dream, your desire, and take intentional action. Start small, think big, and you will, I promise you, be better than you were yesterday.
Wow. On that note, people, S.A. Grant, over and out.